Hello chess friends. In this recently played blitz game on chess.com, you will witness Magnus Carlsen playing computer moves, specifically the moves of Stockfish, against a very strong grandmaster by the name of Aram Hakobian, starting on move 14 to completely destroy him by move 22. How is this possible? Does Carlsen really use engine assistance? And will he get banned from chess.com? All these questions will be answered very shortly, but first, let's get to the critical point in the game where Carlsen activates the terrifying chess entity that I like to refer to as Magnus Carlsen. So the game begins innocently enough with e4. Carlsen has the white pieces here, and we get a nice Sicilian defense from Hakobian. c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, all very standard. e6 from Hakobian, getting ready to strike in the center with d5. Carlsen simply castles, and after d5, this is looking a little dangerous. His king's still in the center. He hasn't moved any of these pieces out to make any progress towards castling, but he knows his theory, and this is actually totally fine for black. Who knew? Actually, a lot of people knew, but Carlsen knows some theory too. He plays bishop to b5, pinning this knight and offering a little pawn sacrifice here. D takes e4, that pawn's unprotected, but if Hakobian did that, he'd jump into e5 with his knight, put more pressure on the knight on c6. Hakobian doesn't want any of that. So instead he develops a piece. Now the best developing moves here are like bishop d6, knight f6, but he goes for knight g to e7, which is a little substandard because it hems in his dark squared bishop. Carlsen now takes on d5. He says, I'm going to now open the position up, and after e takes d5, rook to e1, pinning that knight. Now both Hakobian's knights are pinned. A little awkward, but he decides to execute a little pin of his own with bishop to g4. Now Carlsen plays bishop takes c6 check, b takes c6, and now black's pawn structure is a little compromised. d3 from Carlsen. He's not playing computer moves yet, because if he were, he would have played d4 instead, which is much stronger, allowing c takes d4. And what do you think the move is here for white? Take a second. The best move here is not to capture this pawn, it's to play knight b to d2. And this apparently gives white a big advantage. And you're probably thinking, how the hell is this better than what Carlsen played back here with d3? To tell you the truth, I have no idea. But Stockfish knows, and so does Carlsen. But he's not quite ready to start playing engine moves just yet. He wants to give Hakobian a little fighting chance. And so the game continues. f6. This is a decent move. He's going to get his king off of this open file the old-fashioned way. He's going to move to f7. Now we got knight c3. A developing move which really does nothing. Better would have been bishop to e3, attacking that pawn on c5. But Carlsen knows he's going to have a lot of winning chances. He doesn't have to play perfectly just yet. We have h5 from Hakobian. He's looking to activate his rook along this file, maybe get an attack going on the white king. Knight to a4 from Carlsen, attacking that pawn on c5. Queen a5 defends with an attack on the knight, which is why it would have been better for Carlsen to play knight b to d2 and then to b3, attacking the pawn that way. But he defends with b3, and now we have bishop takes f3 from Hakobian. And how would you recapture that bishop? Well, hopefully you said g takes f3 due to the fact that taking with the queen would hang the rook and mate as well. But after g takes f3, Carlsen now has a horribly weak pawn structure around his king. Hakobian can safely tuck his king away on f7 and then go to work on the exposed white king over here. And I'm sorry to say, Magnus Carlsen is hopelessly lost. Just kidding, he's not lost at all. In fact, the position is about equal. After king f7, Magnus Carlsen decides to activate the terrifying aforementioned chess entity known as Magnus Carlsen, which has the face and body of a human, but plays moves which are indistinguishable from those of Stockfish. In fact, such an entity would pass a reverse Turing test. That is, from this point on, Hakobian would not be able to tell if he were playing a strong human or a chess computer if he didn't already know better. Queen to e2 is how Carlsen begins. The first of 8 flawless computer moves that Carlsen will use to finish off the game. This is a little probing of the vulnerable e6 square. There's the threat of a check there. So Hakobian plays knight to f5. Looks sensible to a mere mortal as it puts the knight on an active post and finally opens a line for the bishop. But this move is a fatal error, as Carlsen will flawlessly demonstrate, beginning with queen to e6 check, his second top engine move. king g6. Jacobian has foreseen that he has this move king g6 to defend his knight. And how would you proceed here with white? Here's a clue. Remember how you thought this pawn structure looked really bad for white? Well, it turns out that it's actually really bad for black. That's what Carlsen does. He turns his weaknesses into strengths. And after his third perfect engine move, king to h1, he is threatening to get his rook involved with rook g1, which will drive Jacobian's king away from the defense of the knight on f5. So Jacobian gets his knight out of there. He plays knight to d4 with an attack on the queen. But Carlsen doesn't want to move his queen just yet because it's guarding the important f7 square. He doesn't want Jacobian's king to use that square as an escape route. So he throws in first rook to g1 check. And now the king can only go to h7. And only now does the queen move to the f7 square. And you might think, oh, an attack on the h-pawn. But this is not the main purpose of this queen on f7, as you will see in a moment. Jacobian plays knight to e2, hitting the rook. And he may have been thinking that he achieved something here, since the rook cannot move to another square along this open g-file. For if you move forward, let's say rook to g2, oops-a-daisy, queen e1 check will end in mate. So, moving that rook up on the g-file is not possible. But Carlsen, he has other ideas. He's not worried about the knight taking that rook. Instead, he unleashes Stockfish's top move once again, bishop to h6. And now we see the real purpose of the queen on f7. Pinning the g-pawn. That's what made this move possible. Of course, you can't take with the king, or queen g6 will be checkmate. And now black has a real problem. There are 3 pieces attacking this g7 point, and only 2 defending the king and the bishop. So Jacobian goes ahead and eliminates one of the attackers. Knight takes g1, winning the exchange. But this is not very important because Carlsen simply replaces that rook. Rook takes g1, once again renewing the threat to g7. Jacobian's only defense is rook to g8. But there's a big problem with this move. See if you can identify what the problem with having the rook on g8 is. Although it looks like maybe black has defended everything here, Carlsen found the winning combination right away. Just like a computer, he played queen g6 check, king to h8, it's black's only move, and here, the great Magnus Carlsen, the world's strongest human chess player with a machine mind, executes a mate in 2 moves. See if you can find it. What did he play? Turns out that any bishop move along this diagonal will mate in 2 moves. Bishop f4 is what Carlsen played, and Jacobian resigned. Seeing that on the next move, queen takes h5 check will be mate, black's king has nowhere to go because the rook was moved to g8, blocking the king's escape. And now for the answer to the question that I posed to you at the beginning of this video. Did Carlsen use computer assistance to find the perfect 8-move winning sequence to finish off this game? And the answer is yes. But he will never be banned from chess.com. For Carlsen's own mind itself is a chess computer, which computes winning variations better than any other humans on the planet. Hence the name Magnus Carlsen. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.